Oh, girl, I was just telling Emily how hard I'm already feeling this retrograde. Like, I've been feeling it since last Tuesday.
Yeah. Well, we've been in the splash zone.
Yeah.
The splash zone.
That's what I call the front row at our comedy show.
Yeah.
The splash zone.
I texted Kate when she was on her way here. I was like, just a heads up, I have not showered. I have not left the house. I am in hiding.
That is the best existence I think anyone could ask for. That's all I want in life is just not to ever leave my home.
Right? Me too. Work.
I finished Next in Fashion. I can't talk. Because I haven't spoken to anyone out loud all day. Holy shit.
That's amazing. That's a great way to be.
Yeah. Wow. La la la. Yeah, I can talk. I'm fine.
Welcome to
Witchcast.
Cause it's Witchcast.
Hi.
Hi, I'm Emily. Hi.
Hi, I'm Kate. And we're your hosts of the Witchcast podcast.
Yes, we are. We are novice witches learning about our witchy world, talking to different experts and practitioners of like everything that falls under the occult, witchy,
Mystic, spiritual,
pagan, all of it umbrella.
Anything woo-woo, we're into it. And we have a really special guest today. We're so excited to welcome back to the show, Rowan Rivers.
Welcome, Rowan.
Hi, guys. I'm so excited to be back.
Thanks for being here.
We've missed you, Rowan.
I missed you guys.
So we had you back all the way on season 1. We're now on season 3. Can you believe it?
I know. It's
wild.
happened so fast.
So fast.
Time is flying.
Time's flying. But we had an amazing episode with you in season 1 about spells and potions. Mm-hmm. And today we're going to be talking about something that's very near and dear to your heart that you're actively working on.
Yes.
A class for some spiritual self-defense.
Spiritual self-defense. Protecting yourself with witchcraft.
From spirits.
Totally.
So what is spiritual self-defense?
Talk to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
help.
Okay. So as you're going throughout your life, you're basically surfing through a variety of different spiritual energies, right? And some of them are uplifting and good, and some of them are negative and bad. Some are really easy to sort of experience and feel like they're there. And others may be a little bit harder to detect. And so when we think about spiritual self-defense, it's really about like protecting yourself, just making sure that you're healthy. Although sometimes it can be a little bit more, like if you happen to be in magical communities, then you are running through a higher chance of picking up other people's spirits, having people who know how to practice magic that maybe get a grudge against you and are throwing some shade literally in your direction. And so in situations like that, which can be a lot more common than people think, it's good to know how to protect yourself, how to defend yourself, and when necessary, how to shut a bitch down.
Love it.
So this is defense against the dark arts?
This is defense against the dark arts, motherfucker.
Oh my god.
Welcome.
Oh my god.
Harry Potter Year
Kate,
7.
we're so much
Professor
more prepared
Rivers
than we
is in
thought
the
we
house.
were.
I'm geeking out. Oh my gosh. Wait, did you say Gryffindor?
It's I've taken the test twice, and one time I was a Gryffindor and one time I was a Slytherin. So I've decided that like basically I'm like Harry Potter torn between the two houses. I think
You're a Gryffindor. I am a firm
Gryffindor.
believer that everyone is kind of straddles two houses. I am also a Gryffindor.
of course.
More so Slytherin now that I'm older.
Yeah, Slytherin, Gryffindor.
Yeah. What are you, Emily?
I self-identify as Ravenclaw.
Nice.
But I usually get Gryffindor, I guess, in tests.
So you're a Raverin.
Yeah, Ravendor.
Ravendor. Yes. Yes,
Yeah.
you're right. You're right.
Or a Gryffindor.
A Gryffindor.
Actually, that makes more sense.
So defense against the dark arts.
Wait, I have more to say about my
Yes,
Ravenclaw.
please. Please do.
Well, no,
Let's just talk about Harry Potter the whole
I was
rest
just
of the
gonna
episode.
say that I identify as a Ravenclaw because I feel like if you straddle the line and your options are Gryffindor and something else, you're probably gonna end up being the something else if you're willing to accept it because everybody fucking wants to be a Gryffindor.
Right. Okay, so we define spiritual self-defense. So I think today we would like to talk about it from a witchy perspective because I think a lot of people are scared of, kind of the effect that dabbling in any kind of witchy or occult practice can have, the ripple effect. And then also, I think a lot of people are very scared of the idea of being hexed or cursed, or spirits being allowed in when they don't want them to, especially for our audience, which, a lot of them are beginner witches such as ourselves. Would love to be able to give them some insight. Should they be as afraid? How can you protect yourself? What are some practices that people can do?
Totally. I'll say it's like, there are definitely like, I guess, communities or mindsets where the idea of like being thrown on is a lot more prevalent than in other places, where it's like, oh, there's always these witch wars happening. And in my experience, life is usually not like that. You also, when you were talking about like, just facing that really basic concern, especially as you're getting started, about not knowing exactly what you're tapping into and just needing that reassurance. And when we talk about spiritual self-defense, what I don't mean is like, oh, you need to be prepared when you cast your circle lest you let in a demon by accident, which, like, I work at a witch store. These are very real questions that I get asked every single day. Like, am I going to do something I don't mean to? And the short answer is it's highly unlikely, because a lot of people train for a lot of different years, to master their traditions and skill sets in order to do this stuff effectively. So the idea that you would just like stumble into a hell pit, like unless you live in Sunnydale, then I think you're okay.
I feel the same way. We recently did an episode on sigils, and then, and something that we came across, though, is that there's a lot of kind of existing sigils, and we also did an episode on runes, and runes are a very ancient language, that there are some sigils that are specifically for calling forth demons or opening doors. So, we always advise our listeners to do their research.
Totally. And like, think of sigils like spiritual phone numbers. Like, just because you have the number doesn't mean that you have the technology to get to who's on the other side of the line. Because there's, along with the sigil, there are rituals, methods of empowerment. And same thing with some of the stuff in spiritual self-defense. Like, you can have certain charms that you carry on yourself for protection or for prosperity or for love. But the charms often in and of themselves, they need to be utilized, to be worked a certain way in order to express the energy that they have inside of them.
That's awesome.
This is
so it's
cool.
very similar.
That like makes me breathe like a collective sigh of relief.
Yeah. Also, that is like, like Google, like doing a Google image reverse search for like every sigil, just like demon ? Sigil scan demon, magic sword or gun.
So backing up a little bit, what are some like daily practices one could do to just kind of preemptively, as like a form of maintenance, create a solid sense of spiritual self-defense?
Yeah. So when I think about spiritual self-defense, there's some basic, I guess, categories that type of spiritual self-defense covers. So basically, you're looking at cleansing and uncrossing, diagnosing if there's something spiritual going on that you need to treat. And so that's going to be like the most basic thing, is to check in with yourself and know how to identify if you need to cleanse, and then how to do basic cleansings. On another level, we're also talking about like actively defensive magic, protection spells, protection charms. Things that either protect your car as you're driving, or protect your home, or keep you safe from spiritual energy. And then on the darker, kind of more fun side, for people like me at least, there's also the topics of reversing stuff. So that's going to be if someone is actively sending you negative energy, sending it back to them. And then sometimes working what we call justified hexes. So this would be a situation where like maybe you are being harassed by your neighbor and they have a lot more money than you, or the police don't really seem to care, and you can't get justice a normal way. Well, you might throw a little bit of offensive magic in order to ask God, basically, that if you're justified, let this person be cursed. Let them learn their lesson the hard way, since you can't seem to get your justice the normal way. So those are sort of like the main tenets that I think about as really crafting a well-rounded spiritual self-defense. And I think that it's really good to be able to do any of them in order to just keep yourself clean.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have a question? I feel like I'm asking a lot of the questions.
Oh, yes. So we've talked in the past a little bit about uncrossing and protection spells. What are some of your favorite ways to diagnose whether or not you need to do that kind of thing? Actually, let's just start with that. What's one of your favorite ways to diagnose, like whether or not you need to do a protection spell or an uncrossing or anything like that?
Sure. So I have got a tool called OB, which are 4 cowrie shells that I use to divine that were given to me in my Ifa practice through an initiation. But anyone can do, I really like this oracle. It's a yes-no oracle. And anyone can kind of follow in its logic. You won't be doing OB since it's not given in a religious setting, but you can still work with it. So what I recommend is taking 4 pennies. If you can get them from the year of your birth, that's going to be even better. You want to bless them with a little bit of holy water or maybe a little bit of Wisdom of Solomon oil, pray over them, just so that these are not any 4 pennies. These are now your magic 4 pennies. And when you are asking for a diagnosis, you shake your pennies, you pray over them, and you say, do I need to cleanse right now? Is there anything wrong that I need to take care of? And then depending on how many heads and how many tails you get, that's going to tell you yes or no.
Very cool. Have you ever done any limpias before? Do you like to do egg cleansings?
Yes, I do. So I offer something that's very, very similar to Olympia as a service at the store that I manage. But I choose not to call it Olympia since that's very culturally specific. Even though part of how I learned Limpias were through my cousin because her husband's from Mexico. And so they do this as part of their spiritual cleansing on a regular basis.
So cool.
Yeah, but that is a great way. So Olympia, for those who may not be familiar with the term, is a form of spiritual cleansing. It comes from Mexico and it often utilizes eggs in order to act as basically sponges for all the psychic energy on you, all that spiritual energy. And you start at your crown and you pray as you roll these eggs over your body. And you want to get them like everywhere in your armpits, under your feet, get them like all over the place, that they collect the yuckiness that is on you, that God takes it away using this egg. And then you dispose of the egg either by cracking it into water and reading the signs and the patterns there to see how effective it was, if there's anything else you need to be aware of, or you can throw it at the base of a very large tree.
Whoa, I didn't know that part. That's cool.
Yeah, so if you ever want to cleanse using a tree, by the way, so trees are super, super old and they can withstand so much. They hold so much information, so much life force inside of them. And if you ever want to cleanse using a tree, an old rule of thumb that I feel is spiritually powerful is that the trunk of the tree needs to be wider than you can reach your arms around. Like you shouldn't be able to hug the tree and have your hands touch. And if it's bigger than you, it can take your burdens without it being negatively impacted.
And then how do you give it your burdens?
So you can give it your burdens. Like, for example, if you're using that egg as a sort of sponge, you throw it at the base of the tree to crack it that way. That's one way. Another gentler way can be meditating with your spine against the base of the tree and just sort of becoming aware of all of the spiritual energy inside of you that you don't want, that is making you feel unhealthy or out of balance. And you collect that, you breathe it into yourself, and you breathe it out through your spine into the tree with gratitude, with trust, with love, that it's doing something for you that you can't do for yourself.
I love that.
That's super cool. I love that.
Great.
Now, if only we could find a tree in New York City.
Have to go to Central Park, I guess.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, we get in so much trouble at Central Park.
Yeah, throwing eggs at a tree in a public park in New York might be a trouble, but I think sitting against a tree would be okay.
Yeah. Let's do it. When it gets warm out. So you mentioned meditation. Do you also, I was reading a brief article on Llewellyn, and also we've spoken with a medium who, every morning does bath meditation as part of her practice. Do you work with meditation and in your practice and what you kind of, in your services, in your advisory, do you advise your clients as well? Like, how do you use meditation in your work? Oh my God, that was so hard. Keep all that in, Emily. Okay.
No, I totally do. I have a formal meditation practice that I do about at least 4 days a week. And so this is a part of my Anderson Fairy training. I'm in the Blue Rose line of fairy. This is actually a really good type of question. So there are many different types of meditation. In my Blue Rose meditations, I'm going on basically trance journeys that are intended to help access different parts of the spirit world. It's a little bit more shamanic in nature. But also, before I do readings for clients at the store, I always do a different type of meditation focused on just clearing my mind, on getting all of that, all that noise that rattles around inside of your head today, being like, oh, I shouldn't have said that dumb thing to that person, or did I forget that at home? Just letting all of those channels go onto mute so that you can focus on the spiritual messages that are coming through.
That's awesome.
Very cool.
I also wanted to ask real quick while we're on diagnosing's fine. Diagnostics. While we're on this subject, I wanted to ask, sometimes I feel like I get this sense that something's off. Like I just kind of for a few days will feel kind of off in my gut. And I can't tell, how can you tell if it's just like hormones or, your physical health or something spiritual or energy, or if it's like the actual like, cosmos, if it's something astrologically related? Like, how do I know I'm not just being crazy?
Yeah. Well, for one, I always encourage people to really trust their intuition and their instincts, because your first interpretation of what's going on may not be, the perfect one. However, if you continue to explore that, it may lead you to a more robust understanding of what you're going through. So let's say you've been feeling off for a couple days. You might start by looking at your astrology to see, oh, is there anything, transiting across maybe like what's happening with my Neptune? If this is on a deep subconscious level, what's happening with my moon? If I'm feeling very aggressive, where's my Mars at right now? And so you can learn a little bit more about what's causing your symptoms, but you don't need to doubt the fact that you are experiencing symptoms. You just want to figure out where they're coming from.
Oh, that's lovely.
Yeah. I have a question for you, which is just, so you're working right now on a class in this stuff. What got you interested in it? Why this? Why now?
So to be completely honest, well, two things. One is that recently I have gone through, the past couple of months have been fairly intense for me. Even as a magical worker, I was like, what is going on?
You can swear.
What in Jesus' name? So I was doing some readings about basically why is this all happening at the same time, all this insanity. And part of what came up was I have not been cleansing or doing my protective work as regularly. When you work at a store doing magical stuff professionally, sometimes you can spend all day doing this work for other people. And then when you get home, you're like, I'm so tired. And you don't light your candles, you don't say your prayers or meditate or what have you. And that was definitely the case with me. So that was part of it. And then to be totally frank, a lot of people have been asking me to teach them how to curse. And I felt like it would be a little bit better to teach cursing within the context of spiritual self-defense. Because also that's why I believe in cursing, if you need to curse, is as a form of justified defense, not as something scary or spooky. And I don't think that it's great to just give people like spiritual ammunition for, firing off spells at each other if they don't need it.
I think the emphasis on like, if it's justified is really helpful and important, because it's like if you're asking like, I don't know, I've never done a hex or a curse, but I can see the angle of like when all other avenues are exhausted, having this tool and then asking whatever power you believe enacts it, like only if it's justified then go for it kind of thing, really sort of sets you up as like, if you're gonna do it, this is the safest, best, sort of like most like comforting way.
Totally. Well, and I don't know if this helps also contextualize where some of this comes from, but for my personal background and training, a lot of the more offensive magic that I am familiar with comes from Filipino spiritual traditions. And we're talking about cultures of people who were colonized for over 300 years, were, really kept in a position of being subdued economically, having their culture suppressed. And so this is a situation where someone might feel like, okay, well, I've got to fight back against my colonizer. What can I do? Who can I pray to? And also within those spiritual traditions, there is a very strong belief that if the person you were trying to work against is innocent, that the magic won't touch them, that they'll be protected by God and they won't be affected by what you're doing. So it really is more about creating balance and maintaining balance in the universe than it's about like a spiritual tug of war or throwing punches at someone.
I love that.
Yeah.
That sounds pretty ethically safe to me.
Yeah.
Well, I love that. Going back to uncrossing and protection. So let's say you did some diagnostics. You realize there's something funky going on in your system. What's one of your favorite protection or uncrossing spells to help get rid of that bad juju?
So I'm going to give you two. I always recommend if we're talking about spiritual uncrossing, then I think baths are the way to go. And you don't actually have to have a bathtub to take a spiritual bath. You can take them in the shower. I've definitely taken them in the shower. And to be honest, sometimes that can even be a little bit more effective because it helps our brain recognize like, oh, I'm not just like taking a bath. No, I'm actually spiritually cleansing myself. So you can take salt baths and add a very easy way to make your own spiritual uncrossing baths at home is to take some Epsom salts and then buy some sort of uncrossing oil, some sort of cleansing oil from your local witch store. Mix about 15 drops of that oil into a cup of Epsom salts, pray over it, and throw it in your bath. It's really important when you're taking any kind of spiritual bath, but especially an uncrossing one, that you really do get your entire being wet. You do especially want to get your head wet. That's the most important place to bathe. And then for a lot of people, air drying after the bath is a really important component because it allows that all to sort of get soaked into your skin. And then you want to dress in fresh, light-colored clothing that have been recently washed. Take a little bit of your used bath water. It can even just be like a shot glass amount. Take it to a crossroads and throw that used water and all that spiritual energy that it took off of you into the middle of the road so that it is scattered to the four directions, and then walk home without looking back. That is a great, great way to spiritually uncross with the bath.
Yeah, we're like
we're fist pumping.
Yeah, we're fist pumping over here. That was awesome. To be fair, the first and only ritual that Emily and I did together was a binding against Donald Trump.
Mm-hmm.
And we buried his bound photo and burnt candle at the crossroads at 14th and 8th Street.
Yeah.
In one of those meridian like tree things. I wonder if it ever came back up again or if anyone ever found it. That's so funny.
It's been so long now.
I felt like it was effective for a little while. We need to do a new one.
We need to re-up.
Well, we got rid of Steve Bannon because we also did him too. I love that. So when you do that kind of salt and protection uncrossing oil bath, how would you do that in a shower?
So you basically would follow all the same ingredients. And to be honest, with the spiritual bath, you don't need a full cup of the salts. Like you really only need maybe about an ounce in order for it to be effective. I just think it feels a lot nicer if you use more salts.
Yeah.
But so in a shower, you would definitely want to keep it closer to about maybe like 2 to 3 tablespoons. And you're going to mix that with water before you even get into the shower. The reason you add the oils to the salt is because if you just add the oil to the water, they will separate. But if you add it to the salt, it'll get absorbed into the water better. And then when you are in the shower, you would pour that over your head. And so whether or not you're in the shower or the bath, a very powerful thing to do can be to only use downward strokes. So you start at your head, not up and down, only down across your bath. Everything is getting washed away. And so you would really focus on your prayers and the movement of washing that off of your body in the shower in order to reaffirm this magical act that you're doing.
Awesome. Very cool.
Love that.
You had another one you said too?
I do. So another one of my favorite ways to uncross is with a candle. So for this, you want to have a plain white candle. They sell these household sort of ritual candles that are about 6 inches long. That's usually what I use, but you can use a taper. Basically any white candle that's not encased in glass. And you're going to do Olympia the same way as you would with an egg, but instead you're using the candle as your sponge. And when you are done taking that candle all the way across your body, instead of throwing it at a tree, you burn that candle to the ground. And everything that it had taken off of you burns away with it.
Love that. So easy.
Yeah, that's great.
Very straightforward.
Okay, while we're getting you to tell us different exercises, while we're getting a preview of your class, which will be wonderful and out sometime in the next few months, probably.
Yeah.
If someone's sending negative energy your way, how do you bounce that? How do you bounce it back at them?
Yeah, so here we're talking about reversals.
Yes.
So some
Talk to
people
me
consider
about
reversals.
Sorry.
Yes. So reversals, some people feel a little bit touchy about them because they're like, oh, I don't want to actually send the negative stuff back. That feels a little bit malicious to me. And one of the things that I would point out is
They started it.
just like, A, they started it, and B, in terms of like the spiritual technology at play or whatever, the spiritual physics rather, you're not actually doing that. You are not touching something dirty and throwing it back to them. I think of it a lot more like, let's say someone is running at you and they're going to punch you. If you step out of the way and the momentum of what they were doing, the force of their energy causes them to fall down and hit their face, that is their own fault. You didn't push them on the ground. And that's really what a reversing is. You're letting them take all of this nasty energy, you're dodging it, and then they have to brace themselves for impact.
I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how to do reversals? There are different strategies, but my favorite way, a very old way, is to take a candle. So you will find out in the world that there are some candles that are black on one side and red on another side, on the top and the bottom. Those are specifically reversing candles or double action candles. So you can take one of those, or you can just take a plain black candle. And for this type, you want one that's not encased in glass. You're going to actually cut off the head of that black candle so that it becomes flat. You're going to flip it upside down and carve a new head out of the bottom of the candle. So you are literally reversing this candle.
What?
Yes. I like I mentioned the last time I was on, I am like a low magic queen. I love working with my hands in witchcraft. The amount of focus that it takes and the amount of energy that you put into it as you're carving it really helps build up the spell for me. So after you've done that, if you know who is throwing this negative energy on you, and sometimes you do know, you can do tarot readings. You can say like, all right, it's confirmed this person is throwing on me. You take their name and you write it in mirror writing. So not only are the letters of their name backwards, like it would be ETAK for Kate, but you also reverse the direction that the letters are pointed in. So that if you hold it into a mirror, then you can actually read the name. So that's mirror writing. And then you take your candle, you can anoint it with your reversing oil if you want. Something astringent like witch hazel, something with agrimony or blackberry would be appropriate, sage. You want to dress it moving away from your body. So from the bottom of the candle at your heart, pointing out away. And then you would burn that on a mirror. And this mirror should not be a mirror that you use to get ready. This needs to be a mirror. It's best if this mirror has never seen your reflection. And you would burn it on the mirror and pray that this negative energy gets sent back. If you want to, you can include things like crab shell powder. Crabs can walk backwards. They've got that funny little way of walking. So the powder from their shell is used to reverse things. Yeah. And then when you're done, get rid of the remains at a crossroads. Hopefully a crossroads with a trash can.
Yay.
Would you get
love
rid
these
of the
spells.
mirror too in that situation?
I would, unless you plan on, and if you know that this person is probably going to keep doing stuff, you might want to keep the mirror because the mirror is going to collect all of that energy and that will help build it up over time. But if this is intended to be like a one-off thing, this really should settle your score, then get rid of the mirror too. Yeah.
Wow.
Cool. Good to know.
I love your spells. I love the way you talk through spells and rituals, and it's so entertaining and also so accessible.
Oh, thank you.
You're an amazing teacher. Everyone should take your class.
Do you want to hear about another type of reversing that uses mirrors that's maybe a little bit more intense?
Hex, yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so this one is called the mirror box. And what you're going to do is take a box and then also take a mirror. This time it is very, very important that this mirror has never, ever seen your reflection. So something that you can do is have someone else buy the mirror for you. Or like I have gone to the store and brought cloth with me and covered the mirror with cloth. Like I get one from the back and I cover it with the cloth so it never sees me. Take it home. You're going to break that mirror with a hammer. You're going to take the broken pieces of the mirror and glue them to the inside of the box. And then you're going to take an effigy of whoever is throwing on you. This could be someone's photo that you printed off of Facebook. This could be a little candle that you used to work on them that you baptized in their name. It could be a little doll baby. You take that little effigy, you put it in the box and you tell that effigy exactly why they are going in there. Because of all the awful things that they're doing and all of their bad behavior, they are getting locked in their box to look at themselves and think about what they've done. And then you put them in there and you lock it and you bury that motherfucker. And they are stuck in there, and everything that they try to send out towards anyone, any negative bullshit that they're spreading, it all just gets stuck in there with them.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love that. That's amazing. Bury that motherfucker.
That's so good and funny and good.
I also, so like to that end, you know, because part of me gets a little worried about, you know, sending our listeners kind of willy-nilly out to do these spells, maybe who are not as experienced or knowledgeable. But with both of those mirror spells that you just went through, it's really about reflecting back what others are sending out. So if they're not, is it kind of like what we were talking about before? Like if they're not like actively out shitting on others, they're not going to get anything back, right?
Yeah, I mean, let's also think about it in the other way too. If they start doing their own crossings, if they start doing healing magic, that magic will also be amplified back towards them. Their healing journey can stem, and ideally should stem, from a learning process that alters their behavior.
Gotcha.
Wow.
Okay, I like that. That's nice.
And I like the idea that, I mean, just sort of separately, like with a reversal, it's if you're bouncing back negative energy, even if you thought of it that way, like you're holding up a mirror and basically like you're not sending any new negative energy anybody's way. You're just like, the only way that they get hit with negative energy is if they're already sending it out.
Exactly.
You know what I mean?
And if they send out like love, peace, and blessings, then they'll get that back too.
Great.
This is coming from hoodoo and conjure and American folk magic, both of these spells. And really, it kind of is like a folk magic equivalent almost of the idea of the law of threefold return. Right? That it's just finding a different way for that principle of the universe to express itself.
I love that. Would it also be effective against, say, you know, I know that immediately when you were going through that mirror box ritual, I started to think about like certain figures in my friends' lives, like abusive fathers or, you know, like alcoholic relatives, or, you know, like if someone's going through an abusive relationship or hasn't, like, if they're not, oh God, I can't talk today either, even though. Is it effective against emotionally abusive people? Let's say like people who are psychic vampires or like, you know, sending out negative energy without maybe even consciously realizing it, that aren't witches. Yeah. Is that still effective against them? I would say
that's a great question. And in a situation like that, instead of doing a reversal, reversals are best if the other person is actively doing something and they know that they are actively doing something. Gotcha. In a situation where what you're describing, like a psychic vampire, or maybe like the evil eye, someone who is jealous, and that jealousy is tripping up your luck, making you sick, things like that, then I would probably do a binding. So that mirror box is actually a combination of a binding and a reversal, because you're locking them in the box. That's how they're bound. So that one is, to be honest, more so than the candle, that's a more advanced spell for someone who knows what they're doing and knows when it's time to take the other person out of the box or not. But for a binding, this is something that can be used against alcoholics, against people who are repeatedly lying or engaging in compulsive, hazardous behavior. So a very, very simple one is the freezer spell. So you would take a picture of a person, and let's say that this is someone who has a really nasty temper, and they're always picking fights at family reunions and things like that. You would take their picture, you would bind it up with some thread. If we're trying to bind their temper, I would probably use like a white thread, because that's going to be a calming color. But if it's someone who's just evil, like let's say it's Trump, use a black thread. You put it in a container full of water, but enough room left that it will still expand and be safe in the freezer. You put it in the freezer and you let it go on ice. And that is to slow down their emotions, to get them to cut out their behavior, and ideally have some time to reflect on why they need to change what they're doing.
That's so beautiful.
I like that.
Yeah.
I got room in my freezer. I can make a little.
All
No,
you bitches.
there's like these memes going around on like the internet and everything that are like, oh, I was trying to cook dinner tonight and I forgot about all these people in my freezer. Hi, Uncle Joe.
That's hilarious.
That's funny.
And I was thinking, I was like, oh, I have a covered ice cube tray. I could just do a different person in each cube.
You could? Oh, that's adorable.
I don't have that many people I need to find in my life, but maybe someday. Look out.
At the Republican Senate?
Yeah. Yeah, actually,
Right,
yeah.
just
I
do
could
the
just
whole
do,
Senate.
yeah, just
Or the Republican Empire.
yeah, the whole all the politicians. All the politicians. Wow, this is so great. This is so helpful. Did you have other questions, Em? I'm like,
Wait, I did have one, and now I've forgotten what it was.
oh, wait, I have
Go
one.
for it.
Okay, can we talk about auras? I'm sure we need to do a whole
why not?
episode separate on that, but just we haven't really talked about those at all on this podcast yet. And that was something that came up in my super brief research. But can you talk to us about what is an aura and how does that tie into protection and spiritual self-defense?
Totally. So everything in the world is made of matter, and for a witch, oftentimes our worldview is that all matter possesses energy and spiritual consciousness. So when you are looking at something's aura, you're seeing that energy. It often radiates outside of the body. It's not contained exclusively inside of it. Everyone, I think, has had feelings of being in a room with someone and being like, wow, it's just so soothing to be standing next to this person. Or on the flip side, someone can enter a room and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't know what they're going through, but there's something yucky all around them. And sometimes this is something visible that you can see. I will say in my personal experience, it's much easier for me to see an unhealthy aura than a healthy one. It looks like smog just following the person around, just like thick, dark smog. Sometimes you can even smell it. And so auras can be a really good way for us to build up like our psychic ability by sensing them, sensing our own, and recognizing, okay, am I out of balance somewhere? Does this imbalance seem to be located inside a specific chakra that I've got, or in someone else's, energy body? And then you can kind of understand what's going on. Like if it's in their heart, then maybe they're going through a really tough time. If it's in their root chakra, maybe they aren't they're not physically healthy, or there's some substance abuse issues. So it can be a tool for diagnosis that helps us figure out how we can best treat them and ourselves.
Cool.
Awesome. I have two things. One.
Come on.
Kate, you used the term psychic vampire, and I just want us to take a second to define that, because I don't think it's something that we've actually used on this podcast.
No, we haven't
before.
talked about that before, no.
Oh my gosh, psychic vampires. Let's talk about them.
Let's talk. I mean, the term in some ways sounds like you can kind of guess what it is, but
Well, yeah, what
you guys go.
all I know is no, Rowan should talk about it. I was going to talk about
I think
yeah, go ahead.
The thing is, I think either of you probably could talk about it totally adequately, because it's a very self-explanatory term, and everyone knows the type of people that we're talking about. And you're lying if you say that you don't. Some people can just take all the air out of a room, or they're so draining on you. So this is going to be, again, when we think about spiritual wellness and spiritual self-defense, everything should be couched in the idea of balance, that the universe is operating in harmony. But sometimes, we got to be around people who throw us way out of balance. Either they only talk about themselves, or they're always asking for things from you, or just being around them is exhausting. And so those are energy vampires. Oftentimes, if there's someone in your life who you think might be an energy vampire, you'll notice that their relationships tend to be very toxic and codependent. And that can be a very big symptom. And oftentimes they seem incapable of doing things for themselves successfully. That they always need someone else somehow to help them out. They can kind of be a little pity party too much of the time as well. No one really likes being around them, and no one wants to be one.
Yeah. I also think it's not a permanent situation. I think people go through phases, especially I feel like in our 20s, we encountered a lot of, and I was probably definitely one myself off and on, of, you go through phases where you do kind of feel helpless, and you're so unhappy that you almost can't see beyond your own self-centered kind of unhappiness. And so you don't even realize the effect that you have on other people.
Yeah, it can be, I feel like it can come with like depression and anxiety and that kind of thing. Is like, even you can even know that you're doing it and want to stop, but just
can't.
Desperately need external validation or
Right.
whatever else, or like just be sucking up other people's energy.
Yeah, and I mean the thing is like I totally agree with you for one that it's a temporary condition. It's not like, oh, some people are like, oh, that person's just an energy vampire, as if like it's a different species or something like that. I don't think it means that like, oh, this person's aura just works in this parasitic way. I think it's a behavior, and like all behaviors, it can change.
Yeah, and it can be unlearned probably if people are so inclined.
Right. Yeah. I think being aware of it is the first step, right, for anything. Something that I think, Rowan, you and I, along with our mutual friend Madeline, we used to talk about a lot is like whether when you're on a phone conversation or let's say you're even in person with a person, when you walk away from that event, that experience, do you feel uplifted and inspired and rejuvenated, or do you feel drained? And I think that was like the biggest key for me, realizing that there were certain people in my life that were kind of energy vampires. Was like every time I was with them, I would walk away feeling completely drained, because the whole time I was trying to take care of them and their, issues or their problems,
I will say, so this is something that obviously I run into quite a lot in my line of work.
Oh, sure.
But you really have to be very guarded and have your boundaries up with people who you are recognizing as going through this experience of maybe being a psychic vampire at the moment. Because so when you're good and you're healthy, your spiritual light, that aura, it is shining bright. Like you're a beautiful little bonfire. And for people who feel like their spiritual light is dim and they got all that smog all over them, they're so attracted to your light and your energy and your power and your happiness. So they try to rub up on you to see if maybe they can catch some of that light. But the thing is, and I say this with total compassion and no judgment, but when you rub something dirty on something clean, the dirty thing doesn't get cleaner. The clean thing gets dirty.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Yeah.
So in a situation like that, if you are seeing your friend going through a tough time, instead of leaning on them and letting them drain you and make you exhausted so that now you're both in a bad place, you need to respectfully, lovingly take the distance that you need and tell them what they can do to help themselves, what you can do to help them, but really make sure that you're maintaining that boundary, because you can't pour from an empty cup.
Yeah.
And if you just let them drain everything out of you, then you're not going to be in a position to help either of you.
Totally. I'm very pro boundaries.
Pro boundaries.
Yes.
Boundaries are so great.
So important. It's a new discovery for me. But
it's such a thing.
Boundaries
I feel like
are
it's
so
very
important.
much the kind of thing that you have to learn through your
the hard way.
through living, and like it's very much a 20s thing. Like it's. I feel like the older you get, the easier
I
it
also
is.
think that in terms of magical like abilities and stuff, creating your energy boundaries, mastering that skill is one of the healthiest, best things that any magical, witchy kind of person can learn to do for themselves. Because other people notice it. And on this unspoken psychic level, they'll notice your boundaries and they will more often than not respect them. They'll get this, like the go away sign or the do not come any closer sign. And that's healthy for everyone, because they're not picking up on those boundaries with most other people they meet. And that's why they're in this situation.
Oh, so on that note, what is one way that you can work on that own personal witchy boundary that you just talked about?
Yes, a couple ways. I'm going to throw out one of my favorite stones for protection. It's good for reversing. It's good for protection, taking off other people's negative psychic energy, is obsidian. Mm-hmm. So obsidian is actually not a crystal. It's a volcanic glass. And the way that obsidian forms is that when the lava hits the water, it cools very rapidly. And that's how we get our obsidian. So boundaries, physical boundaries, are literally what cause it to exist.
That's awesome.
It's born with that energy inside of it. So it's very, very good for that. So like I've got a lot of clients who are nurses, for example, or therapists. And I always recommend that they keep some obsidian on them, because that's really going to help. And then if you are in an environment like that where you have to practice those boundaries on a daily basis, make sure that you're cleansing your obsidian regularly too.
Yeah, that's great. I was on the train the other day and this person was staring at me so intently, and not with any kind of facial expression. They were very stoic in the face, but they were and like I made sure that I kept like glancing to see if they were just staring off into space, because that totally happens.
Right.
But they seemed to be looking at me with purpose, and I was so I got really paranoid, and I was like, is she cursing me? I was like, what's happening? Because I accidentally I tripped over their foot a little bit when I was first coming onto the train, and I said, oh, I'm sorry, you know, I like apologized and went and sat down, and then I couldn't tell if they like recognized. It made me feel weird. So immediately I started to just try and meditate and imagine myself in like a white ball of light all around me. And it kind of actually made them stop staring at me a little bit. So, because I was like, I don't know you. I'm so sorry. Please don't curse me. I don't like.
Come through, witch. Yeah, no, good for you. That is a perfect demonstration of how to use your meditative abilities, focusing on your aura in order to help create boundaries. Visualizing that white light is a perfect thing to do, and I do it many times. Some of the other ones that I found useful in the past are to imagine that a hedge of roses is growing all around you, and all of the blossoms all those fragrant rose petals are facing you, and all the thorns are facing them. And that can be another lovely one.
I love that.
That's a really fun one. Yeah, I've mostly, like, I do light stuff also. Like, I always think of, like, a white light or a ball of light for if I'm
I was picturing your door and
going
window thing.
And stuff, yeah.
I was picturing I was shutting all the windows around me in the subway.
Right.
Speaking of Emily.
But I love a hedge, too. A privacy hedge.
A privacy rose hedge.
Right.
So there are other little things that you can do as well. Let's say that meditation isn't something that you feel super comfortable with, or when you try, you just feel like you're not getting the success that you want. A really common thing to do is to carry around a little evil eye amulet. So this type of magic is called a apotropaic, and it's used to reflect back other people's negative energy to them. And usually this comes in the form of jealousy. Either someone who doesn't want you to be successful as you are, they're jealous, they think that, you know, oh, they deserve to be with a partner as handsome as yours and you don't deserve them, or something like that. Those little evil eye beads, or the Hamzas, also called Hand of Miriam, Hand of Fatima. These are just charms that you can carry on you, and you don't have to have any magical ability on your own in order to make use of them.
Very cool.
Yeah, I love that. Do you feel like, is there anything that you feel, only because you had mentioned sort of when we first started talking about, like there are things that you can be carrying around, but if you haven't sort of imbued it, or like if you're not familiar with it, it might not have a full effect. Do you feel that that's the case with those kinds of symbols too, or? I
feel like that's the case with almost everything in the world, to be honest. But the nice thing about these little amulets is that, so something like that is going to be very accessible. It's not a religious tool that has very formalized traditional ways of working with it. It's something that you can charge up on your own through very simple methods. I always recommend the most powerful one is prayer. Really, just because prayer is a form of taking your own spiritual energy and reaching out to the universe to touch it and activate it. And praying over your amulets is a very, very powerful way of activating them. Some people prefer to smoke them with incense, or to leave them in candlelight, or to sleep with them. These are all effective ways of charging your stuff. But I think that no matter what you do, you should definitely add prayer to your method.
Cool.
All right.
I love it.
Yeah. That makes sense. Oh, and then the second thing I had, which is very much related, I think, is let's say, you know, you don't have anything bad coming at you necessarily right now, but you just want to do a more general protection spell. Do you have any, first of all, is that a good idea? And second of all, do you have any recommendations for ones that our novice witch friends might, including us?
Totally. I totally think it's a good idea. I kind of think of it like magical insurance. Mm-hmm. Like you want the insurance before something bad happens, right? Yeah. Not after. Right. So yeah, like totally set up some protective stuff for your house or your car, or your person. Again, it could be something as simple as a crystal. It could be a very popular thing to do would be to take a picture of St. Michael the Archangel and post that on your front door and your back door, or near your front door and back door. You can also make little protective charms, and keep those in certain areas of your house. Railroad spikes are used for protection, but just anything, you know, like I think of it like having a lock on the door. You know, you don't necessarily need it because someone's going to break in, but you want it for your own security. Mm-hmm. So something that everyone can do for a little bit of magical protection is to take a small red cloth. I use bandanas usually and handkerchiefs. And in that cloth, you can put a little bit of rosemary. You can put a little bit of bay leaf. You can put other protective herbs, black cohosh in there, a little bit of pepper if you want, a little bit of salt. And keep that on your person. So you can sleep with it in order to really connect with it. You can add a little bit of your own hair if you want, so that works only for you. And you can either carry that on your person as a protective charm. You could leave it by your front door. And then that's, again, the type of amulet that you just want to charge up by praying over it and adding a little bit of smoke. Or a very traditional way of keeping that type of charm charged up is to dab it with whiskey.
Oh.
These are all things that people have in their home.
Yeah, I know. I love this because I could do it right now if I had to.
Yeah, very kitchen witch.
Yeah, I really like accessible magic because I think it helps us remind ourselves that God is everywhere. Spirituality can be very, very everyday. Like when we think about magic and witchcraft, it doesn't always have to be as complicated as casting a circle or learning how to read tarot cards. It can just be recognizing that the universe is spiritually alive, regardless of whether or not we're paying attention to that aspect of it at a given moment.
Beautiful.
I love it. You're so well spoken,
Yeah.
Rowan. There've been like a million quotes that you've said that I've like bookmarked in my head that I will soon forget, but I was like, that's good. That's awesome. I want to do like all of these.
I know. Yeah, they're all very actionable.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Oh, thank you. So, do you mind if I bring up one other thing about spiritual defense that I feel like is really, really important that no one ever really talks about?
Of course. Please.
Yay. So, something that we should learn how to do and be willing and ready to do if we're able is learn how to conjure peace. Learn how to disarm a spiritual bomb instead of setting one off. That is a very, very powerful form of spiritual self-defense that sometimes we get wrapped up in like the ego being like, look at how powerful I am because I can make someone suffer or whatever. But if you can heal a wound instead of creating another one, then that is always what you should do.
Yeah.
Wow, that's beautiful. And I'm sure it's very complex and probably for someone who's more advanced, but what's a little way that one could get started in that?
Yeah. So the first thing to really, really focus on is to be prepared to forgive. That is without that condition, your reconciling work, your peace work, it's not going to actually work out because you don't actually want it to. So being prepared to forgive is a really, really important step. And then in terms of a simple spell that you can do to help with this, there are figural candles out there that are made in the shape of people. I find that if your spell involves another specific person, that having a candle that is actually shaped like a person can really help promote the energy of your intentions. But in a pinch, you could also just get 2 white candles, or 2 blue candles would be perfect in this situation. And what I would recommend doing is at night when the other person is asleep, you're going to take these candles, you're going to baptize them with some holy water, one for you in your name and one for them in their name. You say, everything I say to you, I say to them. Everything I wish for you, I wish for them. And I wish you to hear me tonight. I wish you to hear how you have grieved my heart and how you have caused me pain. And I know that I have done these things that have caused you grief and have caused you pain. And tonight I want to heal this. And I hope that you will hear me, that part of your soul that is in dreams will hear my call and witness this spell tonight so that we can start to forgive each other and heal our wounds. You're going to take those candles, you're going to bless them and light them. And as they burn, you're going to slowly move them closer and closer together until by the time they are done melting, their wax has become one wax. You're no longer working with the wax of 2 separate candles. You have the wax of 2 candles that have become one. And that is how you can help start the healing process so that you're ready to reconcile in the real world too.
That's so beautiful. I love that.
Magic is poetry.
It is. It totally is. It gave me such feels. Oh my gosh. I have a bonus question, but I'm worried that it might be too much of a subject.
Okay. All right.
I'm just going to ask it and we can cut it out. But if it's too long, can we talk about evil spirits?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Just breathe.
So-
like, is it are they real? Do they exist? How do you know if you're being plagued by one?
So my personal view of the universe, and this is not the view of everyone who
Right.
practices some form of the craft, but it's that the world is populated with spirits that we cannot see. All different kinds. In Filipino mythology, there's a collective term for all of the unseen spirits, and they're called the people who are not like us. And there are the people of the trees, and the people of the rocks, and the people of the forest, and the people of the sky. And they're all around us. And they have lives just like ours. And so in the Philippines, a very common thing to do as you're walking is to say, "Tabi tabi po," like, "Excuse me, sir, pardon me. I know that I can't see you. So if I accidentally step on you, please forgive me." But you can sometimes piss a spirit off by, like, let's say you've got a giant tree in your backyard. And one day you decide you're done with that tree and you cut it down. You do not leave any offerings. You do not say to the spirits who live there, "Hello, I'm sorry that I have to get rid of your home, but I need it to go. Please find someplace else to live." If you just evict them, they're going to be mad and they may hold a grudge against you. And so it's not that the spirit itself is evil. The spirit has been wronged by you. And so that's why they may, give you a cold or something like that. And I think that that's a much more common way of encountering spiritual energy that we may be perceiving as negative than a demon who is coming up, to devour your soul. Or something like that.
It's inside the house. Yeah.
I rise from the mud.
Not Dementors,
Yeah. And so if you have wronged a spirit, or spirit feels wronged by you, and what's one thing you can do to kind of help appease that situation?
Yeah. So in a lot of different communities, there are going to be people who are known to be spiritual workers. And if a lot of the time, what you might want to do is seek one of those people out.
Get a professional.
Because they're a little bit better maybe at spirit communication than your average person may be. However, there are plenty of people for whom that may not be an option or whatever the case may be. And leaving a simple offering to say, "Hey, I realize I did something wrong. And I want to make it up to you." So you might look up the spirit associated with that particular tree. If it was a tree in your backyard, you say, "Oh, I read that they like cigars. I'm going to buy a cigar. I'm going to take it outside and I'm going to say, 'Hello, spirit who lives here. I'm sorry that I cut down your home. Please forgive me. Before you move on to find a new home, please take this cigar as an offering of peace and an apology from me.'" Yeah.
And then what do you do with the offering? That was always my thing. I offered my ancestors some chocolate, and then it just sat in my offering bowl for weeks because I was like, do I eat it? What happens to it? What do you do with offerings?
So with ancestors specifically, I actually like to leave the offerings on their altar until it starts to turn a little bit, because then I feel like death has really touched it and it's really gotten through to them.
Nice.
But then at that point, once I start to see a little bit of mold or something, I'm like, okay, great. It's done its job. I take the offering. I say thank you to my ancestors for having a meal with me, and I get rid of it and I return it to the earth. But there are certain offerings, like let's say you bought some Chanel No. 5 for you work with Oshun and you bought her some Chanel No. 5. If you give that to her, that is hers now. You don't get to be like, "Oh, I've got a hot date this Friday. Let me spray some of this Chanel No. 5 on me." No. That's against the rules. When you give an offering, you have to give it fully.
Okay, cool. I might have eaten the chocolate.
That's okay. Well, I will also say, so in the Philippines, I feel like I'm talking a lot about Filipino folk magic anyway. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay. We love it.
But,
we love it. We're going to do another episode with you where we dive deeper into that, but please go on.
So the spirits, they don't actually eat the food, obviously. What they want is the fragrance from the food and the heat from the food. So you set aside some of that food for them first. It's primicias. They're getting the first servings. But then after they've gotten that fragrance, you get to eat the food because you're taking the part of it that they didn't want. But different types of, I would also say ancestors are different types of spirits than the spirits of the land, or different types of spirits than, certain gods or goddesses. So know who you're interacting with and what the rules of their house are. Because when you give an offering, you're going into that spirit's house.
Cool.
I like that. I get it.
That makes sense.
Makes sense. Do we have anything else? Do you have anything else that you want to make sure we cover, or do you have any other questions?
I'm good. Do you have anything else you want to add, Rowan?
No, I would I guess, just reiterate that even though I say terms like spiritual self-defense, really what we're looking at is about staying in balance with the universe, staying in harmony with ourselves, with those around us, and that needs to be the ultimate goal, really. I think if we can learn to think of things in those terms, then not only are we happier, but we're much better prepared for when things are out of balance.
I love it. And just quickly on your class, so you're working on creating a syllabus for a class that you're teaching in person at your witch store that you work at. What is the name of the store again?
So it's called The Mystic Dream. We just celebrated our 30th anniversary last year.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I'm the manager. And if you can book services or readings with me either at themysticdream.com or at my personal website, www.river/witch.com or -witch, I guess, hyphen. Yeah, and so I will probably be teaching that in person, and then I'm also trying to see if I can get it up online.
Awesome.
But that is TBA.
And that'll definitely go more in depth than what we've just touched on here, correct?
Oh, yeah. I mean, like, so you called it at the start of the show, like, I am a chatterbox. I have no problem talking. And so right now, my problem is that I am fitting too much information into this class. I'm like, oh, people want to study this for like 6 months, right?
I mean, I would. If I was there, I totally would take your class.
So yeah, it'll definitely be longer. I'm just trying to figure out what will be a good shape for it, because I don't want to overwhelm people with like every possible way they can cleanse.
Yeah, well, but you're an ocean of knowledge, so thank you so much for imbuing the small ponds that you did today.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was so nice to be back and to get to talk with you guys, and I can't wait to do it again.
I know, we miss you.
Yeah, we have to have you on to talk about Filipino folk magic next season.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. 100%.
Do you have a tarot deck? Do you want to do
let's do
our tarot card pull of the day?
Hang on. I think I've got one right over here.
Cool. No rush.
Okay, so I pulled the Strength card today. So this is the Rider-Waite-Smith Centennial Edition. This was like the first deck that was popularized, and most of the decks that have come after it are based off of it. But there's this lady holding open the mouth of this lion. And one of the things that I always say about this card is that really strength might as well be titled vulnerability and trust. Again, it's about harmony with the universe. And when you are working in emotion and synchronicity with the universe, then you find that you have access to much greater forms of power and strength than if you try to work against it. So trust, be vulnerable, be open, allow the universe to move with you as much as you are moving with it. And you'll find that you feel much more powerful and much larger in the world than you did before.
Love it.
I love it. That's a beautiful reading of the Strength card. That's awesome. Yeah. And so people can hire you at river-witch shop. Oh, damn it, I fucked it up. What is it again?
river-witch.com.
We'll post it online as well.
Yeah.
Right. And they can also, people can follow you on Instagram. You're the River Witch on Instagram, right?
Yep,
tag you
that's
on
me.
Yeah, we'll tag you.
We'll tag you on Insta.
We'll tag and link it up.
And yes, and you should follow us. You should, if you're not already doing it, listeners, Witchcast Podcast on Instagram, or you can email us if you have any questions, comments, thoughts, ideas for future topics you want to hear.
Please let us know.
We are witchcastpodcast@gmail.com.
And witchcastpodcast.com is our website. We always post kind of, the photos on our Instagram, but also on our website as well, along with links to anything that we've talked about. So a way for you to do some further reading.
If you want some more resources.
Yeah.
They're there on our website.
Yes. And we have Rowan's website on our Witchy Resources page as well. And I guess until next time.
Hex yeah!
'Cause it's Witchcast.
Like headless priests and shape-shifting demon babies.
Love it.
Yes.
Yes.